Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, text number 19. Text 19. Kindly repeat. Tvam tu abjanava angri saroja durga. Oh, excuse me. Kosha durga ashvitaha nirjita satsapatnaha bhunkshva iha bhogan purusha atidishtan vimukta sangaha prakritim bhajasva tvam tvabjana bhangvi saroja kosha Durgashvito nirjita satsapatnaha Bhunkshveha bhogan purushati tishtan Vimukta sangha prakiting bhajasva Tvang tvabjana bhangvi saroja kosha Durgashvito nirjita satsapatnaha Bhunkshveha bhogan purushati dishtan Vimukta sangha prakriting bhajasva Tvang tvabjana bhangvi saroja kosha Durgashvito nirjita satsapatnaha Bhunkshveha bhogan purushati dishtan Vimukta sangha prakriting bhajasva Tvang tvabjana bhangvi saroja kosha Durgashvito nirjita satsapatnaha Bhunkshveha bhogan purushati dishtan Vimukta sangha prakriting bhajasva Tvang tvabjanam bhangvi saroja kosha Durgashvito nirjita satsapatnaha Bhunkshveha bhogan purushati dishtan Vimukta sangha prakriting bhajasva Tvang tvabjana bhangvi saroja kosha Durgashvito nirjita satsapatnaha Bhunkshveha bhogan purushati dishtan Vimukta sangha prakriting bhajasva. Ladies, Tvang tvabjana bhangvi saroja kosha Durgashito nirjita satsapatnaha. Bhungshveya bhogan purushaditashtan. Vimukta sangha prakriting bhajasva. Tvam tvabjana bhangvi sarojakosha. Durgashrito nirjita satsapatnaha. Bhungshveya bhogan purushaditashtan. Vimukta sangha prakriting bhajasva. Tvam, yourself. Tu, then, Abjanava, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose navel is like a lotus flower. Angri, feet. Saroja, a lotus. Kosha, hold. Durga, the stronghold. Ashitaha, taken shelter of. Nirjita, conquered. Satsapatnaha, the 6 enemies, the mind and 5 senses. Bhungshva, enjoy. Iha, in this material world. Bhogan, enjoyable things. Purusha, by the Supreme Person. Atidishtan, extraordinarily ordered. Vimukta, liberated. Sangha, from material association. Prakritim, constitutional position. Bhajasva, enjoy. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. It's a fairly long purport, so we hope that you can maintain your attention levels. I'll try to maintain mine. If I fall asleep, you can either take over or wake me up or something like that. Translation. Lord Brahma continued. Oh, very good. You memorized one line of the verse now. That's an easy part of the verse, isn't it? Lord Brahma continued. We also have to continue, so you can take this as a good reminder that we should continue, not that we just, start something and don't finish it. But we should try to continue. Well, anyway, he is speaking. This chapter is entitled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. Maharaj Priyavrata. It's a wonderful chapter, the 5th canto Bhagavatam, 1st chapter. And Lord Brahma is now speaking to King Priyavrata. We'll hear what he says. He says, I don't know if it's on the board, it's not. You just have the Sanskrit there, okay. Lord Brahma continued, my dear Priyavrata, seek shelter inside the opening in the lotus of the feet of the Lord. What nice advice. Seek shelter inside the opening in the lotus of the feet of the Lord, whose navel is also like a lotus. Thus, conquer the 6 sense organs, the mind and knowledge-acquiring senses. Notice here it mentions the knowledge-acquiring senses. We have the working senses and the knowledge-acquiring senses. I guess Prabhupada would talk about it in the purport, we'll see. Accept material enjoyment because the Lord extraordinarily has ordered you to do this. That sounds a bit better, doesn't it? What do you think about that? The Lord has ordered you to accept material enjoyment. We'll probably hear more about that too. If the Lord orders us to do it, we have to do it. Isn't it? Isn't that amazing? Maybe you can think of some practical examples of that. You will thus always be liberated from material association and be able to carry out the Lord's orders in your constitutional position. This is a very amazing statement of Lord Brahma. He's acting here, no doubt, like the spiritual master of King Priyavrata. King Priyavrata has also got a spiritual master named Narada Muni. So there's a little bit of interesting, you could say, discussion over two different approaches to a very important situation. And maybe we've already heard about that, maybe we'll hear about it in coming verses. Purport: there are three kinds of men within this material world. Without looking on your mobiles, who knows what the three types of men are? Three types of men. Tall men, short men, and men in between. No. Thin men, fat men, and something else in between. Black men, brown men, and white men. No. Young men, middle-aged men, and old men. No. What else you got? Nice men, not very nice men, and men in between. What else have you got? Well, you could all sorts of different combinations you could think of, but what is it referring to here? Three types of men. And when we say men, we don't necessarily mean just men. When Prabhupada uses the term men, it's traditional, it's not just Srila Prabhupada. And nowadays, of course, there's a different usage of words, but it wasn't so long ago that man referred to mankind. It referred to humans, it didn't necessarily refer just to the gender aspect, but those in human bodies, mankind, which includes those in female bodies. So in this particular case, three types of men, what does it refer to? Anyone? Without looking on your mobiles, that's pretty hard not to look on your mobile. You've done well, you've gone 35 seconds without looking at your mobile so far. That's a pretty... You may be approaching a record here, conscious record of not looking at your mobile for more than 1 minute. Fantastic. Anyway, I'm sure you don't look at your mobile very often. But anyway, the three types of men Prabhupada mentions here, they are those who are trying to enjoy the senses to the utmost are called karmis. Some devotees are a little bit hesitant to use this terminology. You don't hear it very often nowadays. Prabhupada used it quite a few times. It's not a derogatory term. In fact, it's quite a complimentary term if we take it literally. If we take it literally, most people are vikarmis. Of course, karmi can include all those who are trying to enjoy the senses, but it's not as bad necessarily as sometimes we take, you always call people karmis. Why are you calling me a karmi? It's like, derogatory. Why are you calling me a bhakta? I'm not a bhakta. I'm initiated. I'm not a bhakta. If you're not a bhakta, what are you? A bhukta? A mukta or a bhukta or some other ta? And then we forget the realistic meaning of these words. Though anyone who's trying to enjoy their senses is a karmi. He's entangled in karma. Karmis are those who are acting in this body in a way as to cause future material bodies. They're karmis. Doesn't matter who you are, call yourself what you like. We're still karmis, or at least we're mixed. Karma mishra bhakti at best. But if we're still acting in a way to enjoy our senses, I was reading yesterday in teachings of Lord Kapila Dev, okay, you can take it a little bit out of context, but it's not completely out of context. Prabhupada was talking so much so about the nature of devotional service And about who is a bhakta? Who is a bhakta? He said anyone, and his statement said, one cannot be called a bhakta if one has desire, material desires. That's a pretty deep, not very deep, it is a very narrow, in one sense, definition of a bhakta. And probably you could say it's talking about a pure bhakta. A bhakta, in one sense, means a pure bhakta. So we can say we're trying to follow a pure bhakta, and we're practicing the process of bhakti under their direction to at least a certain extent, knowing that this process is the methodology, by the mercy of Krishna, of awakening the bhakta, or becoming a bhakta. By serving a bhakta, one can become a bhakta. And one can go back to Godhead. And then Prabhupada says, above the karmis are the, who are above the karmis? Excuse me? The jnanis. And who are the jnanis? Who are these jnanis? They have already, Prabhupada said, they've already conquered the senses. The jnanis have conquered the senses. They're not under the control of their mind and senses. Most people are under the control of the mind and senses. They may think that they're independent or they have free will, but they have no free will in reality. They're completely controlled by their minds and senses, or the mind and senses of others. They're completely under the control of these enemies. They're described here as enemies. Most people don't necessarily think of them as enemies. If you really analyze it, sometimes you can almost see that they are, even if you're not a devotee. The mind especially sometimes is such a problem, isn't it? I'm sure none of you have any problems. I've heard in New Zealand they don't have mental problems here. Is that right? Maybe I got it wrong, I don't know. It's practically the biggest illness in the world nowadays, isn't it? I mean, defined as an illness. This is even from the material perspective. We're not talking from the perspective of, let's say, spiritual perspective. But just from the material perspective, mental problems are just so rampant in the world today. And maybe some of you are involved in that part of society, one way or another, directly. We're all affected. But, declared, so many people have to take some medication, or they have to regularly go into some treatment center, or therapy and counseling and so many different things, because we're so mentally disturbed by circumstances around us. We're living in such an unnatural environment. It's not surprising in many ways. It's so unhealthy environment, isn't it? It's so unhealthy, everything. New Zealand, I don't know, maybe for different reasons over here, but in some places it's such a high-pressure society that we live in, isn't it? I mean, people think, oh my God, Auckland, I've got to get out of this city. But if you've lived in Paris for, years on end, Auckland is like the quietest suburb of Paris, where all the elite people live, all the sweet kind of, peaceful people live. It's like nothing. It wouldn't even be classified it is a city, no doubt. It's a beautiful city. But it's not in the same league as London. Even Sydney, is the pace of life, those who've lived in Sydney, is far more intense than London, than Auckland, isn't it? You go down to Christchurch or something and you wonder, is anything ever going to happen? It's like it takes them 100 years to whatever, you know what I mean. But in cities like London and Paris, it's not surprising people are stressed out. It's just so intense, You're being harassed more or less every moment by something or somebody. So much noise and pollution and crowds. I mean, maybe it was quiet last night. We went on Harinam on Queen Street. It was like next to nobody there. It was so quiet, wasn't it? I mean, it was maybe quieter than usual. Maybe it has different reasons, and it probably does go up and down, but it was so quiet. It was like, a like a quiet suburb of Paris, you know. They're so quiet. Not many people, and not much going on. And all the shops were like half dead. And what to do? And still people are stressed out, maybe because of that, I don't know. Maybe because of isolation. People are lonely, you know, frustrated in various ways. You know, and I don't know if it's like that in here, but in most of the Western cities, you go on, you have a metro? You don't have a metro here, but you have a train line, not much of one. But they have all these metros, underground trains in London, Paris, all the main cities in the West practically. And it's packed. You know, especially you go in rush hour, it's like you can hardly get in. It's like a sardine can, isn't it? You can't get in many times, and you're just, sometimes your feet are not on the ground. In Paris, it's like that, you know. I called a train, metro recently. I had one foot on the ground. My other foot was hooked up somewhere between other people's feet. My suitcase was up in the air. That's what it's like, you know. So stressful. People are rushing just to save 2 minutes. The next train comes in 2 minutes' time. You've got to get this one. And pushing and shoving, and everybody who can get their hand out there of the crush has got their hand on their mobile, looking at their mobile, trying to do something. Isn't it? You look in a metro, 90% at least of the people, men, women, young and old, have got a mobile in their hand. I mean, it's not the best of items to bring peace of mind. Satisfaction is guaranteed that you will help to increase the fever of material existence. The fever which leads to frustration, which leads to stress and anxiety and so many other unwanted reactions. But the Jnanis are above that. They're not interested in that. They've given that up, at least that much. They may not have taken to devotional service, but they've given up this fourth pursuit of thinking that I can be happy the more I get material facilities, I will be happy. The more I indulge my mind in sense objects, in various kinds of sense gratification pictures, I will be happy. I'm just not getting enough. I need more. More and more, isn't it? The nature of this material world, no one's satisfied. They think that the satisfaction will come by getting more, just like a drug addict or something. They're addicted. And they have no alternative practically. One kind of drug or another, that's all. They're still addicted. Mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. You say the mode of goodness is better in one sense, but in of itself, it still binds one in this material world. And you can get addicted to the mode of goodness more than anything else. And you can't move forward very easily. Stuck, and you don't stay there forever in that position, but you're stuck in that mentality of trying to be a good guy, trying to do good things, trying to enjoy this sort of more natural aspects of the illusion of the prison house of this material world. So the Jnanis, they know that this is all, to them it might be an illusion or a falsity or whatever it is, or foolishness, waste of time, whatever it may be. They've realized that, and they're pursuing a life to not be controlled by their senses, but it's still not going to satisfy the soul. And none of them, however, are situated in a truly transcendental position. The Bible says transcendental position above the modes of nature, or a transcendental meaning a situation which you can never again descend into this material world. We were listening to Prabhupada yesterday, he was also saying that they may attain to the Brahmajyoti or the Brahman platform. The Jnanis may achieve that very rarely, but even that is not necessarily infallible. One can fall down from that position because it's not constitutional. Only when one reaches one's constitutional position, truly, is one infallible. Because one is taking shelter, as Lord Brahma says here, the opening in the lotus feet of the Lord. Complete shelter. Like a baby in the mother's lap. Of course, there's no real infallibility there, but from the child's point of view, it's like infallible. The child is completely feeling sheltered. He's taking shelter in the lap of the mother, on the arms of the mother. So taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord has given that opening. Let's see if Prabhupada discusses that more or not. None of them, however, are situated in a transcendental position. Only devotees who belong to none of the above-mentioned groups. So we missed one of them. There's another category. The yogis, excuse me. Above them are the yogis. Above the jnanis are the yogis. They meditate mostly on the impersonal, on the supersoul. The supersoul, the localized form of Godhead. The form of the Lord within, you could say, the material creation who accompanies the living entity as a supersoul in everyone's heart. Well, one could say that's transcendental in one sense, but it's still related to the, let's say, the physical plane. One has to rise above that to realize the Lord's feature beyond that. Only devotees who belong to none of the above-mentioned groups are transcendental. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 14:26, and you all know this verse. Those who've studied Bhakti Shastri or anything come to that should know this verse. 14:26. You may not know the number of the verse, so we'll give you a clue. It begins with mam cha, mam cha, mam cha. Anyone can add anything else to the verse without looking at your mobile phones. We're really putting you through hell this morning. I'm sorry about this. Mam cha. I know we'll let the older-bodied devotees off the hook here because it is a fact that sometimes, even I was mentioned to Jai Srila Prabhu earlier on, that even Prabhupada said, and you probably all heard this, and I'm sure you've heard it, Jai Srila Prabhupada, you know, sometimes I forget, he said, I'm also getting old. Sometimes I forget the verse. So what is the verse? Mamcha yo bhakti sa brahma. Not bad. Not bad. And we oftentimes know the Sanskrit, but don't have a clue what the English is. Have you noticed that? Or have a vague idea, but not a very clear idea. It means, what does it mean? One who washes the pots goes back to Godhead, right? Is that what it means? One who washes the pots in the kitchen goes back to Godhead. I think that's what it means, isn't it? You become Lord Brahma. No, you become Lord Brahma. That's what it means. Brahma. Brahma, something wrong. What does it mean? Doesn't mean anything. Om. Related, but not exactly. One who engages. Now, this is a very important verse. One of the most important verses in the Bhagavad Gita, amongst the top 40, I think, in the list. One who engages in full devotional service. Notice the word full. Not partial, not conditional, but ahoitikiya patita, anyabhilasata shunyam jnana kamajina. That means without any of these mixtures of the karmi, jnani, and yogi. No mixture. No other desire. They've all got, in some ways, separatist desires. Because the yogi, if he's actually meditating on the supersoul, the problem with many of the yogis, they identify with the supersoul as being themselves. And their objective goal is to merge into the supersoul, to become that. That's often, if not always, the case. So that's another aspect of the, let's say, the fallacy or the shortcoming of that level of consciousness or that endeavor. But a devotional service is devoid of all of those other desires. It's anyabhilas, it's without any other desire. Shunyam, without. And what is it? Anukulyena Krishna Nushilanam. It is simply for the pleasure of Krishna. Devotee would do anything, as this verse says here by Lord Brahma, if Krishna has ordered you to enjoy sense gratification. And you say, no, it's like Yudhisthira. Yudhisthira wouldn't tell the lie, would he? Krishna told him to do it. He wouldn't do it. So that's not pure devotional service. That's mixed. That's mixed with morality. It's mixed with some kind of the goodness mentality. It's not pure. Pure devotee would do whatever Krishna says. This can be misused, by the way. But you have to be a pure devotee to act on that level. Or to be under a pure devotee. They do anything that they say. There are many examples, even during Srila Prabhupada's time, of him emphasizing that. I mean, Malati was a famous example, of course, of that. We won't get into that. It's a heavy example, isn't it? But how Prabhupada pointed her out. This girl would do anything I ask her. Anything. Whatever she asks, she would do. So we may not be on that consciousness, but you're acting in that consciousness. You may like or not like. Our mind or our conditional nature may not be very happy about it all, but that's surrender. We give up this conditioning, this, our own perception of the situation, accept it from Krishna's perception. So here we say, in full devotional service, complete, it means without ananya, full, without any blemish. This is called sincerity. We talk of sincerity, so to the degree, the word can be used in different ways, but ultimately the word means without any other blemish. Complete. Give one's all, not just part-time or conditional, according to how I like it, but not like that. Full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance. That's a subject which can be discussed at length, but in terms of the one sticks, this is sincerity, one sticks at least to whatever one's following, the path with the spiritual master, or that we're trying to follow in devotional service through thick and through thin, through ups and through downs, and so on. One sticks, one holds on to that Prabhupada said, my dhoti, hold on to my dhoti, hold on to his lotus feet, hold on to his instructions. We may be not very strong, but just keep going there, keep taking shelter. We have to find out the different details may be involved, but the principle is there. Don't let go. At once, if one is in that situation, fully engaged, if you're fully engaged, of course, there's not very much question of engaging in anything else. And that includes the mind. Pretty hard to engage the mind, isn't it? Have you ever noticed the mind wandering so easily? You ever noticed yourself eagerly following the wandering mind? It's a kind of like a relief sometimes. You feel a relief. You feel some kind of then you feel bad afterwards, you feel not so good, It's same thing with drug or drink or smoke or any of these things, coffee, tea, all types of sense enjoyment which people do. And in our minds, these things may also carry us away sometimes, whatever it may be. Kind of ride on the chariot of the mind, trying to enjoy these things. It's all like a dream, but still, we're trying to enjoy it like that sometimes. Mind carrying us away like that, and difficult to control, very difficult. We all know from Bhagavad Gita how difficult it is. Not easy, but therefore fully engaged. Prabhupada, and those who were around during Prabhupada's time, and even now it's the same principle, it's not changed. It was just probably a little bit more pervasive in those days, because there wasn't really a community or congregation much. It was all living in the temple in the early 70s. There was nobody living outside. If anyone lived outside, they were not really considered a devotee, even if they were chanting. They were, something, but they weren't quite there. And that we didn't think of a congregational devotee in those days. It was almost unheard of. You were in or you were out. There wasn't much in between. And now mostly we know that most devotees are what we term, I don't particularly like the word congregation, it infers possessiveness. I prefer the word community in terms of, relationships. Congregation means you're our congregation. In other words, you're kind of owned by us or something. You do what we say. You may want to think like that, but I prefer the community because there are just as many, if not more, advanced devotees living anywhere and everywhere in the world. It's not like they're congregation because they happen to live outside. It's, they're coming to, they themselves are preaching like anything. In fact, in our Prabhupada book marathon just now, I don't know if you had a Prabhupada book marathon at Nivarshan, but it's the highlight of, well, there's two highlights of our year in Paris, maybe more, but two special highlights. One is the Rath Yatra, which is quite stunning. Paris Rath Yatra stands out as a very exciting and stunning Rath Yatra. Goes right through the city centre for nearly 4 hours and ends up in the main square in Paris, practically with thousands and tens of thousands of people milling around. It's quite surprising in a country like France, which is so anti-religion. But somehow or another, they like these parades. They like protests. They love protests in France, street protests. The police especially like them. They love protests. It's a time to kind of like, let the steam off and throw a few bricks at the wall or windows and, smack a few people and things like this, squirt things at people, tear gas and all sorts of things they squirt at you. I've been hit by tear gas before now in France. And they kind of, it's just part of the culture there, So street parades, they kind of like, it's another part of that mood. Get out there and let your steam off, Smash a few things. We're a bit kind of passive. We don't do things like that. But still, they let us do it. And it's a wonderful festival. And the other highlight is the Prabhupada Book Marathon in December, where more or less the entire yatra is focused on distributing books, more or less. We do Harinam every day, and other things go on, of course, daily worship programs, everything goes on, but the main emphasis is on book distribution. And our top two distributors, the top book distributor, they distributed way over 1,000 Bhagavad Gitas during December. They have a 6-hour-a-day job. They work 6-7 hours a day in a shop, 7 hours a day. It's a lady, she's never been on the marathon before, first time, young lady, was going out, very slim, it looks like she could be blown over by a little wind, but she was taking 50 Bhagavad Gitas in her bag at a time and refilling once or twice a day her bag. But she couldn't go out, she was only going out in the evening after work. Finish work at 5:30, then go out for 3 or 4 hours. And she'd be there for Mangal Arati. She stayed in the temple during the marathon. She'd come mostly to Mangal Arati. And she'd be off to work by 7:30, 8:30, like that. You see, she was so determined. Anyone can do it. I mean, she had I don't know your quotas, you may not know this. Where we gave, Masikananda he was heavily organizing some of the things, and he organized the quotas for the devotees. How many book points you have to get in this marathon? But he'd asked them, how many are you going to do? You asked most of the devotees, wasn't it? We didn't impose it on them. And maybe you didn't ask Bhaktin Doina. He's not initiated, he's a Bhaktin. And did she tell you? No, it was 150 book points written against her name on the list when I came. And she did 4,000 book points almost. She did many other books, tons of other books too. 1,100 Gitas, including about 30 Arabic Gitas, maybe, I don't know. Quite a lot of Arabic Gitas as well. And anyway, it just goes to show. The second top distributor was her partner, who's also a congregational member. He was just behind her, right? Himanshu, back to Himanshu. He was in his Indian body. So, don't think, oh, I'm living outside. I can't do it. It's up to you. Krishna reciprocates according to our desire as well as just our limitations. We may not be able to do like that, but believe me, anyone can do it. And this is how we can, it's Prabhupada one time wrote, he said, the best way to get off this mental plane is to always be thinking how I can spread Krishna consciousness. It is there, it's in the database, I can't pin it out, but it is there. The best way to get freed of these enemies is to always be thinking how to spread Krishna consciousness. Be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. That's what we're here for. We're not here to get our own rights. That's the last thing in the universe we're here for. That's why we're here in the universe in the first place. If we want to get out of this universe, we have to give up this nonsense. Of course, there has to be management in society, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to surrender to Krishna. Whatever you want, my Lord. That's our goal. At least that's what we say every day. If you ever read the ISKCON, we haven't come to that level, but that should be our goal. We should try to work towards that. And there's no doubt about it, you know. And the top, I mean, how many devotees went out in the marathon? 158 devotees in France reported book scores. And, you know, we didn't do much compared to most temples because we're small timers and we all like, you know, it's France anyway. Even the big timers come to France and they say never again. Navina Nirada, Rohini Sutta, all these big guns. Rohini Sutta was crying on the street. Vijay managed to do one book the day he came out with me. You know, you've got to get used to it. You know, they speak a different language, but they also have a different culture. So everywhere's like a bit like that, but it's kind of, you definitely have to get used to it. So pretty sure. And you know, books were going out. And at the top, I don't know the figure, I can't remember, but there were at least 6 Prabhupada disciples going out regularly on the marathon. Regularly. Not just that includes me, of course, but there were at least 6 others going out regularly on the marathon, right, Jivananda? You take Ram Leela, Aristanas, not regularly, but doing books. They were going out almost every day, those 2. And then others were going out sometimes, you know, Maharishi and others were doing books, Krishna Kirtan, different Prabhupada disciples taking part in the marathon. And it brings unity. It brings a great unity amongst us. This is Prabhupada's secret. Sankirtan is the methodology of bringing unity. It will never happen otherwise, never. Not 1 million resolutions, not 1 million legal cases, not 1 million changes of management will do nothing to bring unity whatsoever without the performance of Sankirtan Yajna. And if we're not performing Sankirtan Yajna, we will never succeed, never. Sankirtan Yoga means we're engaging in glorifying, hearing about the name, form, pastimes of the Lord, or spreading those glories to others. That is the only medicine which works in any age, not just Kali Yuga. But in Kali Yuga, it's absolutely the only process. At least that's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. And if we're followers of Lord Chaitanya, then we have to take that a little bit seriously, I think. Coming together, hearing and chanting about Krishna, hearing the Shastras together, dancing and chanting if we can still dance, singing the holy name, distributing this message to others. And what is it? Tushanti Charamanti Chara. It's the most joyful thing that exists. You have no problem. All the problems seem to dissolve. Isn't it? Many of you will experience that. Even last night we're in Queen Street. And I don't know how you all felt, but generally speaking, when we're dancing and chanting together, do you have a problem? Maybe your knee is aching or something like that, I don't know. But otherwise, what is the problem? It's not very difficult, is it? My ears were a little bit strained by somebody banging loudly on the djembe, but otherwise it was okay. I don't know who it was. It looked somebody like you, right? I don't know. Somebody looked a little bit like you, but I'm not sure if it was you or not. It was okay. You know, when you get into the spirit, even that becomes, it kind of like merges into the overall environment. It's so nice. It doesn't matter who you're with. That's a unique thing. Prabhupada said, want to get rid of envy? Envy is another aspect of enemies. Not only the 6 enemies are lust, greed, anger, envy, and all that stuff. So Prabhupada said, you want to get rid of envy? You come together and do loud kirtan together. Just focus on kirtan. Chanting together. Chant together. Whether in the home, whether in the temple, whether in the street, wherever you are. Come together and chant. And the problems will go away. We realize this is not really important. All these other things. Anyway, those are trying to go a little bit in the direction of transcendence, you could say. And then we can come to the spiritual platform. Devotional service actually really begins. Later on we see Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, Sochatina Kankshatiya. That devotional service really begins when we come to the Brahman platform. As long as we're on these mixed platforms, it's not really full devotional service, it's still mixed. And if we want to resolve that the mixed is the actual thing, it takes a long time to break out of that. A long time. Level of Brahman. So one comes to level of Brahman by this process, if we really take it seriously. When a bumblebee, we missed the line there, Lord Brahma herein advises Priyavati to remain transcendental in the fortress, not of family life, but of the lotus feet of the Lord. Abhana Bhangvi Saroja. When a bumblebee enters the opening of a lotus flower and drinks its honey, it is fully protected by the petals of the lotus. And we don't have remembrance of this experience, but here Prabhupada says it is. The bee is undisturbed by sunshine and other external influences. Most people, they're taking shelter, Atmasanyasva Satsapina, Dehapatra Kalatadishwa, they're taking shelter of the fallible soldiers of the family, of the society, of the nation, of the army, of the doctors, of the this and of that, of mundane religion. So many fallible soldiers who can't really protect us any more than a drowning man can be protected in the middle of the ocean by another man who can swim a little bit better. But what good is it in the middle of a big ocean? We don't belong there. The real protection is that which helps us to get out of the ocean, not just swim in the ocean, but get out of it. When a boom, 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 the bee is undisturbed, yes. Similarly, one who always seeks shelter at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead is protected from all dangers. The famous verses, Samasritiye Padapalava Pavam, Bahat Padam Punya Yashomarari, Pavam Padyavatsa, Param Padam Padam Param Param Yadvi Padam Natesham. One of Prabhupada's favorites, he loves that. Param Param Dam 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 Param Param Dam Dam. He liked that verse very much. There's danger at every step in this world. Even if you don't step, there's danger. You don't even have to make a step. There's danger in the atmosphere, in the subtle platform. So many negative waves are there. What to speak of the air itself and the vibrations of the atmosphere we're living in. So many disturbances are there. So many. We don't realize it. We're conditioned by it. It's such a disturbing age, Kali Yuga. It's getting so bad. So maybe you don't notice it so much here, but in some places it's terrible. It's just intensifying like anything. You've seen it? I don't know about here. I don't know how you feel in New Zealand. I've got no idea. In some countries, in some cities, it's just, oh my goodness. What to do? Dangerous place at every step. Only those who take shelter of Murari, care of the mirror demon, only they can become free. There's no more danger on a step. Everything becomes minimized. The entire material world becomes like the water in a calf's hoof print. You can easily cross beyond it. Otherwise, it's not possible. By the mercy of the Lord, take shelter of his lotus feet. It is therefore said, and this is the verse Prabhupada quotes it right here actually, for one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, everything becomes easier. Indeed, even crossing the great ocean of nescience is exactly like crossing the hoof print created by a calf. Vatsabadam. For such a devotee, there is no question of remaining in a place where every step is dangerous. If you have half a brain, you won't stay in a place which is dangerous. You'll try to get out of there, right? Even from a perspective, a relative perspective, you'll try to get out of there, isn't it? You know, if there's a war going on, everyone's trying to get out, isn't it? If there's an earthquake, everyone's trying to get out, you know, whatever it is, you're trying to escape, isn't it? It'd be stupid if there's like a tsunami and you kind of, oh, very nice, you sit there, come quickly, please embrace me. You'd be running for your life, trying to get away from it. It's only natural. Nobody wants these situations, but the whole world is like that. But we're just in a dream. We're just forgotten. We're just so much in illusion. We're trying to make it a nice place. Like Siddhanta Maharaj said, like trying to make a nice. Of course, they do make toilets nice places nowadays. They're very comfortable. They try to make them comfortable. Not so good at it in Paris. Most of the toilets we go in are maybe not as good as Indian public toilets. They're not much different, most of them. It's incredible. Some of the toilets are so filthy, and graffiti everywhere, and all kinds of nefarious things going on in there. And, you know, no lights. And the public toilet right in the center of Paris, the main one we go to, has no light in the stool room. There's no light at all. You're going, it's completely dark. You're supposed to go in there to use the toilet. There's no light. No soap, no paper, nothing. Anyway, it gives a reminder how you could say it. Sometimes they're so comfortable in there. It's warm, there's nice soft carpets, and there's nice music playing, and it's like nobody bothers you in the toilet, you know. Sometimes they do. My father used to spend a lot of time in the toilet. And I asked him one time, he said, no, it's my only peace of mind when I go in the toilet. He would take the newspaper and 45 minutes later come out, you know, and sit there reading the newspaper. Nobody bothers me when I'm in there. Anyway, it's not meant to be like that. He said, do your business and get out quick. You make it too comfortable, you don't want to get out. You know, that's one of the good things about the terrors of this age, or the difficulties we go through, is there should be an incentive for us to stop doing those things which cause yehi samspashya boga, dukkha yoni evate, taking pleasure in the so-called pleasures of this world. It's just a cause of suffering. Our actual duty is to carry out the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we are fixed in our determination to carry out the supreme order of the Lord, we are always secure, regardless of where we are situated, whether in hell or in heaven. Narayana Paraksave, Nakutaschana Bibiti. Whether the word in Svarga, Apavarga, Narakesha, whether in heaven or hell, one who is Narayana Prayana, one who is taken shelter of Lord Narayan, he doesn't mind. He's completely experiencing the shelter of Krishna everywhere. We may not be quite the same in you could say, our present state of consciousness, but that's one who's Narayana Parayana. He doesn't mind going to heaven or hell. Just like Prabhupada said, I'm willing to go to hell. I'm willing to go to hell to serve my spiritual master's order, to serve Lord Chaitanya. I don't mind. You do what you like with me. We may not be on that level, but we should think about it. Herein the words prakritim bhajasva are very significant. Prakritim refers to one's constitutional position. Every living entity has the constitutional position of being an eternal servant of Godhead. Therefore, Lord Brahma advises Priyavata, be situated in your original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. If you carry out his orders, you will never fail, even in the midst of material enjoyment. He was a king. He was advising him, stay in your kingly post, do your duty, take responsibility for the universal management practically. Don't worry. Yes, if you're a king, there's going to be some sense gratification. If you're a family man, there's going to be some sense gratification. For every one of us, eating, everything, with some form of sense gratification is naturally there. But we take shelter of Krishna to protect us. Not to think that, ultimately I'm the enjoyer. Not to think this is the goal of my life and God is my order supplier. We're here to serve him. Constitution means literally that which can never be taken away. It's not just to say we're the eternal servant of Godhead, that's absolute. But the actual principle of constitutional nature is service. No one can take that away. Every single conscious living entity has serving in one sense or another, serving their own idea, serving their family, serving the nation, serving their senses, serving this, serving that. You can't avoid it because it is actually the nature of the soul to serve. Just a matter of in which direction it's channeled. So our original position is to serve Krishna. The perverted condition is to serve Maya. Material enjoyment achieved by dint of one's fruitive activities differs from material enjoyment given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like prasadam. Does anyone enjoy prasadam? Achyuta Keshava, do you enjoy prasadam? Do you enjoy eating 10 pizzas on the plane coming over here? Did you enjoy it? Was it 10? How many?
6.
Oh, it went down. He told me 7. It's gone down from 7 to 6. You must have really suffered on a plane. You only had 6 pizzas on the plane. Terrible austerity. Mind you, it was a 38-hour journey, so we'll let you off. That's only one every 6 hours. It's not bad. You enjoy the feast? Do you enjoy prasadam? We say honor, but I don't know how much honor. Yes and no, but to a certain extent we enjoy it, isn't it? Is there anything wrong in that? Is it wrong? Maybe it's mixed. Maybe there's a bit of a mixture there, Give me the curd. Curd sabji, please. No, not the potatoes. The curd sabji. Leave the potatoes out. Just give me the curd. I don't know what type of sabji is curd sabji. It's a contradictory statement, isn't it? Curd is not a sabji. Give me the curd, they say. More gulabs. Give me the gulab. Give me the whatever it is you like. Prabhu, there's only rice and dal left. Oh, thank you, Krishna. You're so merciful. Helping me to control my senses. I accept whatever little mercy you give me. And it's cold. Oh, even more mercy. Thank you so much. And the rice isn't fully cooked. Oh, how much mercy am I going to get today? There's no end to this. And the dal's got 5 million chilies in it too. Oh no! I can't believe my lucky day. Oh, by the way, Prabhu, we didn't save you anything at all, actually. You'll be in ecstasy, huh? No, naturally, we have that. We're sentient beings. Krishna is he's the full enjoyer. He's the supreme enjoyer. We're his part and parcel. We're meant to enjoy, but we're just meant to enjoy in the way he wants. Not that we don't enjoy. Devotional service is the most enjoyable. It's natural, it's constitution, it's ananda, it's bliss. Ananda Moya Dasan. In the material world, we only get chapla sukh, flickering happiness. Despite being sufficiently experienced, we still try for it, even though we failed again and again, and everyone around us is failing, but we keep trying. Our devotional service is not meant for that type of enjoyment. It's meant to, step by step. And that's daily worship particularly is geared towards that, isn't it? What do we cook for Krishna? We don't just cook what we like, we find out what he likes, and we prepare it the way, as much as we understand from our spiritual masters, that he likes it, or the Shastras state it. Why do we offer arti? He likes it, there's no other reason. You can analyze it from a Sankhya point of view if you want, but the real reason is that's what Krishna likes. You can't say why. I can't tell you why you like something or another. You know why you like something or another. It's not my business to tell you you don't like it. Why you shouldn't like it or whatever. That's your business. Krishna is the supreme person. He's not just a thing. He's a person. And he likes what he likes. Maybe it would change as we grow up. But that's what he likes right now. Material enjoyment achieved by dint of fruitive activity differs. A devotee sometimes appears to be in a very opulent position, but he accepts that position to follow the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's following his orders. He's not doing it because I want that and Krishna, give it to me. Krishna said, do this. You have to do it. I would say if Krishna told us to eat meat, we'd eat meat. If Krishna told us to do this, we'd do it. And say, no, I don't do those things. I follow the 4 regulated principles. Yeah, of course, in our Brahminical initiation, the 4 regulated principles are a stipulation. But Arjuna, Bhima, Yudhishthira, they weren't following the 4 regulated principles. Are they disqualified from devotional service? Is Arjuna disqualified? Arjuna Vacha. Our whole philosophy is based upon, Arjuna's discussion with Krishna. Yudhishthira liked a bit of gambling now and again. Bhima tucked into a bit of meat now and again. Arjuna liked the girls a bit more than usual, whatever you want to call it. It's all in service of the Lord. We don't see it like that. We see it from our own, conditional perspective. The Lord wants, the devotee does. And they show what happens when you don't. Well, Yudhishthira, when he didn't tell a lie, showed what happened. People misinterpret it, but they don't understand the real lesson being told. That actual morality, actual religion is one very simple. One lives exactly according to the will of the Lord. Nothing more, nothing less. Therefore, a devotee is never affected by material influences. The devotees in the Krishna conscious movement are preaching all over the world in accordance with the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They have to meet many karmas, but by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are unaffected by material influences. He has blessed them, as described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 7:1-9. Kabona bari be tomara vishaya taranga punarapi tani bhabe mora sange. A sincere devotee who engages in the service of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by preaching his cult all over the world will never be affected by Vishaya Taranga, material influences. It means the flickering mind. Mind is one of the anarthas, the aspects of the anarthas. Vishaya Taranga, this flickering nature in and out. On the contrary, in due course of time, he will return to the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and will thus have perpetual association with him. Hare Krishna. End of purport. So who wants to go back to Godhead? Good. Some of you are hesitating. Some of you are quickly putting up those hands there. Those who've been around a long time usually hesitate a little bit because they know that that's not all there is to it. What does it entail? Can you eat the cake without making it? Maybe you like cakes. I don't know. But do you have to make the cake as well, or does it sort of just appear there? I won the cake. There it is. Spiritually, maybe, if you're on that platform, but it doesn't usually happen like that, does it? Somebody has to make it, don't they? Or you have to buy it, and somebody had to make it in the first place as well. And of course, all the ingredients have to be there. Shopping has to be done. Money has to be earned to buy the ingredients. And the various utensils to put the ingredients together to make a cake. And the recipe has to be there. And so on and so forth. Someone has to be there to bring it to you. Many features are involved. It's not just eat the cake, full stop. A lazy person may think like that. It's okay, we like to go back to God. Prabhupada said we should. Is that the end of story? Some people think like that. You just sign up here and you go back to Godhead. You don't have to do anything. You just say, I am Krishna Das, and I am going back to Godhead. Full stop. I do what I like, but because I'm Krishna Das, therefore I go back to Godhead. Is it as easy as that? You have to do your homework. Honorary degrees are rare. And they're not given just out of whim either. There's a different type of qualification to receive an honorary degree. We have to do our homework. We have to do our part, don't we? What do we have to do? You have to eat more prasadam. Eat prasadam and go back to Godhead. Is that right? If you spent 24 hours a day eating prasadam, would you go back to Godhead? Why not? Fully engaged, You'll probably die quite quickly as well. Some of you are thinking about that very seriously. I can see that one. Easy pass. They said that about Hari Ram in New Govardhana. He died eating prasadam. He had a complete overdose of halava and left his body, the poor dog. The vet said he had an overdose of eating that stuff, halava. I don't know if he was eating it when he died, maybe not. He was, but it's not as easy as it sounds, I tell you. It doesn't work like that. You can be eating, but you're not going to be, when you die, you won't be eating. You'll get so sick, you'll be, You can't trick Krishna so easily. But still, that's not bad. At least it's a path, on the path. So you all know what we have to do. We all know what we have to do to put Krishna in the center of our lives. Some kind of austerities are there at every stage, and we have to try to undergo those. Put ourselves a little bit out of the picture. Put Krishna in the center. Get on with it. We've got more than enough to do with our own, purification of our own hearts to worry about everyone else in one sense. Part of it is to give Krishna consciousness, pass it on to others, but ultimately we've got our own homework to do, and so much work in our own hearts to do. It's fun, it's exciting, it's a challenge. Challenges are opportunities to advance, to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna when it's difficult. I know it's not always easy, but reminders of devotees sometimes help us to remember this is an opportunity to take shelter of the opening in the lotus feet of the Lord's lotus feet. Hare Krishna. So now it's time to engage fully in devotional service. At least for a short while. Hopefully our attitude is favorable. We're not going to go down and complain about, well, why is it porridge every day? Why is it porridge? We never used to complain. Every morning, 7 days a week, breakfast was boiled semolina, boiled in water. That was it. Boiled semolina, as much as you wanted, I must say, but boiled semolina, boiled in water, never milk, just water, with lots of sugar. Much sugar as you wanted. That was breakfast 7 days a week, and lunch was rice and dal 6 days a week. The Sunday feast was out of this world. But 6 days a week, rice, dal, and chapatis, full stop. Nothing fantastic. Nobody ever complained. We got kind of a little bit, more developed since then. It was sweet. It was very nice. If you were lucky, you got 8 chickpeas. Sometimes even 10, depending on the temple commander. 8 to 10 raw, by the way, not they were raw. They were just soaked in water overnight, nothing more. Just soaked overnight in water. It was great. The chickpeas were like, wow, crunch. So nice in the middle of the semolina pudding, a crunchy chickpea. Wow, it's such pleasure. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So everyone going back to Godhead? Yep, okay, well I'll be on my own here tomorrow for class, that means. Anyway, never mind. I think I'll have all the prasadam to myself tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna.